Before we dive in, I've got a quick question for you. Where are you watching from right now, and what time is it? Drop it in the comments. It's always wild seeing how far these stories travel. Now, imagine this. Master Chief suddenly steps into the lands between. One moment he's standing on the cold steel of a warship, scanning for Covenant fire from above. The next, the air is thick with mist, the sky painted in bruised purples and burnt oranges. And the ground beneath his boots isn't the familiar alloy and concrete of humanity's strongholds, but cracked stone and twisted roots. He takes a cautious step forward, his visor flickering, as the world refuses to read properly on his HUD. His heads-up display glitches, struggling to interpret the magical energy saturating the air, the ruins stretching toward the horizon, and the monstrous silhouettes moving just beyond the fog. Even the faint hum of his shields feels weaker here, almost like the land itself is sapping the energy from his armor. A low wind rattles his helmet, carrying whispers that feel both distant and intimately close, as though the very world is alive and watching. Master Chief's instincts kick in, every sense honed over decades of combat titans. He sweeps his surroundings, rifle at the ready, eyes trained to anticipate threats, though nothing in his experience has prepared him for this. Towering arches crumble under their own weight. Stone gargoyles perched on broken parapets stare with vacant eyes, and rivers of some dark, iridescent liquid reflect the sickly light of a sun that seems too heavy for the sky. There's a palpable sense of scale here, a world where humanity is a fleeting, almost irrelevant presence, and every step feels measured against the patience of the land itself. Even the air tastes different, as if infused with power older than any history he's known. He moves forward cautiously, the ground crunching under his boots, each echo swallowed almost immediately by the vast emptiness around him. The silence is deceptive. Every shadow seems to twitch, every gust of wind carries a potential threat. In a distant ravine, he glimpses a massive shape, something colossal, moving with intent. His finger twitches on the trigger of his MA-40 assault rifle. But before he can even identify the creature, it disappears behind a veil of mist, leaving nothing but an unsettling stillness. In this world, enemies don't announce themselves the way the Covenant or Flood do. They are inscrutable, unpredictable, and terrifying in ways Chief hasn't been trained to anticipate. The rules of engagement are different. Here, patience is a weapon, and even the mightiest Spartan must learn humility. Master Chief pauses atop a ridge, surveying the terrain before him. Valleys stretch into shadowed depths. Forests of gnarled trees seem to whisper in languages long forgotten, and castles loom in the distance, shattered, yet stubbornly standing against time and decay. His HUD flickers again, this time revealing faint traces of magic dancing like fireflies, pointing him toward points of interest, though their meaning is unclear. In the distance, a faint glimmer suggests movement. A figure, perhaps humanoid yet distorted, with elongated limbs that defy natural anatomy. He tenses, rifle raised, analyzing every possible angle, yet part of him can't help but marvel. The sheer alienness of this world is a puzzle, and even a Spartan of his caliber cannot help but feel the thrill of discovery. The first moments in the lands between are a test not just of skill, but of perception. Chief adapts with methodical precision, scanning for patterns in chaos, leveraging his combat instincts to predict what cannot be seen. The sky above churns with unnatural clouds, the wind carrying faint, haunting echoes of voices, some pleading, some laughing, some indistinguishable. Even the sun seems to hesitate at the horizon, casting elongated shadows that move independently of their objects. Here, Master Chief is not the apex predator. He is a visitor in a realm that doesn't bend to logic, technology, or brute force. Every decision carries weight. Every misstep could be fatal. And yet, beneath the tension, there is an unspoken promise. The lands between may be merciless, but it rewards those who adapt, who observe, and who refuse to yield. His first encounter with the land itself is immediate. As he descends into a valley choked with mist, the soil beneath his boots shifts unnaturally, almost like the earth is breathing. Twisted roots snake out from the ground, curling around stones and relics of fallen warriors long since forgotten. Chief steps carefully, recognizing patterns, calculating trajectories, using his Spartan reflexes to anticipate hazards that aren't conventional. A faint shimmer draws his gaze, a spectral light hovering over a cluster of ruins. He approaches cautiously, every sense alert, and for a brief moment the wind dies. Time itself feels suspended. The light pulses rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. Chief pauses, considering, is this a trap, a guide, or simply the world's way of testing him? In the lands between, nothing is as it seems. Master Chief crouches behind a jagged outcropping of stone, analyzing the faint light hovering over the ruins ahead. His visor scans for thermal signatures, but the display only offers fragmented readings, shapes that flicker in and out of existence, as if reality itself is unstable. The faint shimmer grows stronger, coalescing into a humanoid figure clad in ragged armor, carrying a weapon that seems to pulse with otherworldly energy. Every instinct in Chief's body screams caution. He knows better than to rush headlong into the unknown, yet every fiber of his Spartan training compels him to engage strategically. He moves forward, careful to use the terrain as cover, each step measured, silent, deliberate. As he approaches, the figure lifts its weapon, and the air itself seems to respond. A ripple of energy pushes against him, bending the wind in unnatural ways. Chief fires a round from his rifle, the sound echoing oddly through the valley, and watches in surprise as the bullet dissolves into sparks before it even reaches its target. Magic, he realizes, is a force unlike any he has ever faced. Physical attacks are not enough. Here, the rules of combat are rewritten. Adjusting his approach, Chief switches to close-quarters tactics, drawing a blade found near the ruins. Crude, yet effective in trained hands. The first clash is immediate. Steel meets enchanted metal, sparks fly, and the figure retreats with unnatural speed, almost teleporting across the fractured ground. Chief narrows his eyes, studying the movement patterns, aware that brute force alone will not suffice. Around him, the world reacts as if alive. Trees twist to obscure his path, roots snap with startling suddenness, and the mist thickens, hiding further threats. Every shadow could conceal a predator, every shimmer in the distance a potential ambush. He senses the presence of something larger, something ancient, moving just beyond his field of vision. In Halo, he's fought enemies of incredible scale, but even towering elites pale in comparison to the grotesque monsters lurking here. Beings whose very existence seems to defy nature, combining immense size with unpredictability. Chief's tactical mind races, calculating options, exploiting terrain, anticipating attacks that cannot be predicted by conventional training. Despite the danger, there is a thrill in this alien environment. Chief has faced impossible odds before. Against overwhelming numbers, biological threats, and technologically superior foes. Yet the lands between presents a challenge that is as cerebral as it is physical. Survival demands observation, adaptation, and patience. Here, a misstep could mean death, not just from a single enemy, but from the environment itself. The mist obscures treacherous cliffs, the ground shifts underfoot, and echoes of distant roars serve as constant reminders that he is far from the familiar battlefields of humanity. Chief is forced to become not just a soldier, but a student of the world itself, reading signs, interpreting movement, and anticipating danger on a scale unlike any he has known. After several tense minutes, Chief identifies the pattern. The figure ahead is less a single enemy and more a sentinel of the land, moving in a rhythm dictated by forces beyond comprehension. He exploits a brief opening, closing the distance with a sprint and a precise strike. The blade bites into enchanted armor, eliciting a flash of energy that knocks him back, yet he endures, using his shields to absorb the brunt. For the first time since arriving, he begins to understand the interplay between magic and matter in this world. His adaptive combat instincts, honed over decades, allow him to survive, but he also realizes that raw strength alone will not carry him. Observation, timing, and innovation are equally vital. As he catches his breath, Chief looks around, taking in the twisted beauty of the landscape. Sunlight filters through broken arches, casting long shadows that dance across jagged ruins. In the distance, a colossal tree towers above the horizon, its branches stretching like skeletal fingers into the storm-tossed sky. The wind carries a chorus of faint whispers, some warning, some enticing, others indistinguishable, yet all a reminder that this world is alive, sentient, and unforgiving. Even with his advanced armor, weapons, and training, Chief is reminded that he is a visitor here, a Spartan in a realm where myths breathe, where every action ripples through the fabric of reality, and where the line between predator and prey is never fixed. Despite the disorientation and danger, a spark of determination ignites within him. Master Chief has faced impossible odds countless times before, yet the Lands Between offers a challenge that transcends traditional warfare. Here, he must evolve, adapt, and respect a world that operates on rules alien to him. With each cautious step forward, he begins to map not only the terrain, but the nature of the threats he faces, learning the rhythm of the land, the behavior of its guardians, and the strange dance between life, death, and magic that governs everything. In doing so, he embodies the ultimate Spartan principle: to survive, to adapt, and to prevail. No matter the world, no matter the odds. Master Chief moves forward, each step measured and precise, but the world around him refuses to remain static. The mist thickens, rolling across the landscape like a living entity, curling around his legs, obscuring vision and muffling sound. Every rustle, every distant crack, feels amplified, a warning that danger could emerge from any direction. Even his enhanced Spartan senses, so reliable in urban combat zones and alien worlds, struggle to parse the signals of this place. He realizes that here, patience is as critical as reflexes. One wrong move could trigger not just an enemy ambush, but a cascade of environmental hazards capable of ending his mission before it truly begins. As he descends into a crumbled valley, he notices the architecture around him. Towers lean at impossible angles, bridges have collapsed into rivers of blackened water, and statues of long-forgotten gods leer from moss-covered pedestals. The remnants of civilization are eerie yet majestic, hinting at battles and tragedies that predate even the earliest human empires. Chief's analytical mind catalogs every detail: vantage points, potential choke points, and environmental hazards as he prepares for the inevitable encounters that lurk in the shadows. In Elden Ring, he realizes, survival depends not only on skill, but on understanding the world itself. Suddenly, movement catches his eye. A massive beast emerges from the fog, towering over trees and rocks alike. Its limbs twist unnaturally, its eyes glow with an eerie intelligence, and its roar reverberates through the valley like the clash of titanic bells. Chief instinctively raises his rifle, firing a burst, but the rounds ricochet harmlessly off its scaled hide, sparks dancing in the mist. He quickly adapts, realizing that the physics of this world are warped and brute force is no longer sufficient. Dropping into a crouched stance, he assesses the terrain for alternate approaches. A fallen column offers cover. Jagged rocks provide climbing points. A thin stream of magical energy glimmers nearby, almost as if pointing toward a weakness. With calculated precision, he maneuvers through the terrain, combining Spartan agility with careful observation. Every movement is deliberate, every strike measured, as he tests the beast's reactions. The first melee clash is staggering. His energy blade bites into the creature, and sparks of magical energy ripple across its hide, knocking him back. The ground beneath him trembles with each step of the monster, forcing him to adjust continuously, staying one step ahead in a deadly dance where both combat and environment are lethal. Despite the overwhelming odds, there is a thrill in this challenge. The same exhilaration of battle he felt against impossible odds on distant planets, yet amplified by the alien unpredictability of Elden Ring. As the fight unfolds, Chief begins to notice patterns. The creature's attacks are deliberate, telegraphed subtly by shifts in its posture or the shimmer of magical energy along its limbs. Using this, he times his movements, striking when openings appear, retreating when danger looms. The encounter becomes less about sheer firepower and more about adaptation, a test of perception and strategy that pushes him beyond conventional Spartan training. Each clash leaves him bruised and tested, yet more attuned to the rhythm of this world. The lands between demands not just strength, but understanding. And for the first time, Chief begins to glimpse the delicate balance that governs survival here. After the beast finally retreats into the mist, wounded yet alive, Chief takes a moment to survey the valley. The fog begins to lift, revealing a series of ruins that stretch toward the horizon, punctuated by distant towers and crumbling fortresses. The air hums faintly with magic, and the faintest echoes of long-forgotten chants drift across the landscape, a reminder that this world is as much alive as it is dangerous. He understands now that Elden Ring is not merely a battlefield. It is a crucible designed to test the limits of those who dare to walk its lands. Each encounter, each step, is a lesson in patience, observation, and ingenuity. As he moves onward, the environment itself begins to challenge him further. Roots writhe across paths, collapsing underfoot, forcing quick reactions. Rocks shift unpredictably, and spectral lights flicker across the horizon, luring him toward both danger and discovery. His Spartan reflexes keep him alive, yet he realizes that adaptation is only part of the equation. Understanding, intuition, and respect for the rules of this world are equally critical. Even a Spartan of his caliber cannot brute force his way through the lands between. He must evolve, learn, and embrace the unfamiliar. By the time Chief reaches a ridge overlooking a vast, shadowed plain, he has already begun to transform from mere visitor to a force aware of this realm's rhythm. He pauses, taking in the view. Jagged mountains rise in the distance, rivers of iridescent liquid wind between ruined settlements, and the horizon shimmers with the promise of both peril and discovery. Every instinct honed across decades of interstellar war tells him to proceed with caution, yet curiosity and the drive to survive push him forward. The lands between is vast, unforgiving, and beautiful in its cruelty. A world that demands respect, ingenuity, and adaptability. And as Master Chief steps into the next valley, he knows this is only the beginning of a journey that will test him in ways no battlefield ever has. As Master Chief moves cautiously along the ridge, a low rumble begins to vibrate through the ground, faint at first, then growing steadily into a deafening tremor. The valley below shifts as though reacting to an unseen force, rocks toppling and more dust rising in heavy clouds. Chief instinctively crouches, scanning the horizon. There, silhouetted against the darkening sky, a figure emerges, larger than anything he has faced before, its presence so immense that the air itself seems to warp around it. Horned, armored, and glowing faintly with an inner light, the creature strides forward, each step resonating like the toll of a massive bell. Its eyes lock on him, burning with intelligence and menace. This is no ordinary foe. This is a guardian, a force of the lands between itself, a being whose existence challenges every assumption Chief has ever held about combat, power, and survival. His first impulse is to engage with weapons, But even from this distance, he senses that conventional firepower may be useless. Rounds from his MA-40 sizzle harmlessly against the creature's enchanted armor, sparks flaring and vanishing into the mist. Energy shields pulse and falter, struggling to withstand the ambient magic radiating from the Colossus. Chief pauses, adjusting his visor, analyzing movement patterns, and recalibrating his strategy. Here, brute force alone will not suffice. Survival demands observation, timing, and ingenuity. The very essence of Spartan adaptability pushed to its limits. The creature moves with surprising speed despite its size, weaving through the jagged terrain like a predator unconstrained by gravity or logic. Chief darts between cover, leaping over fallen debris, using every ounce of speed, reflex, and tactical calculation at his disposal. He recognizes that the battlefield itself is alive, every ridge, boulder, and tree both obstacle and tool. With calculated precision, he uses fallen columns to shield himself from the creature's sweeping attacks, rolling beneath its massive strikes and exploiting brief openings to strike with a blade he had picked up in the ruins. Sparks fly with every clash, illuminating the mist in brief, violent bursts. The fight intensifies as Chief adapts further. The Colossus employs not only physical force but magic, hurling arcs of radiant energy that distort the air and warp reality around him. Every strike is unpredictable, bending physics in ways he has never encountered. Chief's HUD flickers violently, struggling to interpret the chaotic data, yet his instincts remain flawless. He calculates angles, predicts trajectories, and leverages environmental hazards. Falling debris, unstable cliffs, and magical currents. To create opportunities, each engagement becomes a test of intelligence as much as combat skill. Amid the chaos, Chief begins to notice subtle patterns. The Colossus, despite its overwhelming power, moves with a rhythm, a heartbeat within the storm. Timing becomes everything. Dodge at the right moment, strike in the instant of vulnerability, retreat when the world itself conspires against him. The fight evolves into a dance, brutal and unforgiving, yet governed by an internal logic that Chief gradually deciphers. Each strike teaches him more about the lands between, about its unpredictable balance between life, death, and raw mystical power. After what feels like an eternity of tension and near-death encounters, Chief lands a critical blow, exploiting a brief lapse in the creature's guard. The Colossus staggers, the ground shaken violently under its weight, and retreats into the mists, leaving behind a silence so profound it feels unnatural. Chief exhales, scanning the horizon, aware that this is only the first of many titanic trials he will face. The valley around him is littered with remnants of the battle. Shattered ruins, scorched earth, and faint traces of magic still flickering in the air. Each element is a reminder of the power this world wields, and the constant vigilance required to survive it. As he moves onward, Master Chief takes a moment to reflect. The lands between is unlike any battlefield he has ever known. Alive, unpredictable, and governed by forces that defy logic. Every step is a negotiation between instinct, observation, and adaptation. Even a Spartan, the pinnacle of human combat capability, must evolve to endure here. He begins to appreciate the subtle lesson woven into every challenge. Raw strength is meaningless without understanding, discipline without perception is futile, and survival depends on the harmony between action and environment. The sun dips lower, casting elongated shadows that stretch across jagged ruins and glimmering rivers. In the distance, the faint glow of another fortress, larger and more foreboding than anything he has encountered so far, beckons. Chief knows he cannot pause indefinitely. The world will not wait. Every encounter, every choice, pushes him further into understanding not just the threats, but the very essence of the lands between. A new purpose begins to form. Not simply survival, but mastery. A quest to confront the powers that govern this mystic world. With his weapons ready, visor scanning, and every sense alert, Master Chief steps forward, descending into the valley with a resolve that is as unyielding as his armor. He is a Spartan, trained to face the impossible, yet he now understands that the impossible in Elden Ring is unlike anything else. It is a living, breathing world of challenges that will test not only strength but ingenuity, patience, and courage. The journey has only begun, but already the lands between has left its mark on him. A reminder that even the greatest warrior must adapt when the rules of reality itself are rewritten. And so, Master Chief advances, the first chapter of his odyssey in the lands between complete, the echo of titanic battles fading behind him, and the promise of even greater trials stretching out before him. The path is uncertain, dangerous, and awe-inspiring. Every shadow could conceal a threat, every glimmer of light could reveal a new discovery, and the lands between will continue to challenge him in ways no Spartan has ever known. Master Chief steps cautiously into a dense forest, the ruins of the valley behind him fading into mist. The air is thick with moisture and the faint metallic tang of magic, carrying an unsettling chorus of distant roars, whispers, and the creak of massive creatures moving just out of sight. Every instinct in his Spartan training warns him that this world does not follow the rules he knows, that every shadow could conceal a threat far beyond what human senses can detect. The ground underfoot shifts with strange textures, roots writhing as though alive, and the moss-covered stones glint with faint energy that seems to pulse with the heartbeat of the land itself. Chief's visor scans methodically, thermal and motion sensors flickering intermittently as the magic interferes with their readings, forcing him to rely more heavily on observation and intuition. A sudden movement catches his eye. A towering figure emerges from the mist, its form grotesque yet eerily humanoid, limbs elongated, joints bending at unnatural angles, and its face hidden beneath a twisted mask of bone and sinew. It steps forward with deliberate grace, as if testing the territory before committing to violence. Chief instinctively raises his rifle, the MA-40's muzzle flaring in the dim light, but he quickly realizes that the rounds are ineffective against its protective aura. Sparks dance harmlessly along its form, dissipating into the mist, even as energy shields hum in protest, straining against the aura of magic that seems to warp physical attacks before they can land. He shifts to his blade, knowing that close combat may be the only viable option. Yet this is no ordinary melee encounter. Timing, strategy, and precision are now paramount, and Chief's mind races to adapt to the alien threat before him. The creature lunges with incredible speed, a blur of sinew and bone, its movements both fluid and jerky. As if it exists partially outside conventional motion, Chief rolls to the side, narrowly avoiding a strike that would have crushed his armor like paper, and counters with a swing of his blade, connecting briefly with the creature's flank. A burst of magical energy arcs from the point of contact, forcing him back, yet offering a glimpse of vulnerability. He begins to observe, discerning patterns in the chaos, subtle shifts in posture, faint glimmers of light along its limbs, the rhythm of its attacks. Every strike, every dodge is a learning process, a deadly dialogue between Spartan precision and the unpredictable brutality of the lands between. As he engages, more creatures begin to emerge from the mist, drawn by the disturbance. Wolves with eyes like molten gold, their forms semi-transparent and flickering with ethereal energy, stalk from the underbrush, circling with predatory patience. Giant armored insects, shells glinting with a dark metallic sheen, skitter across broken roots and fallen logs, their mandibles snapping with unnerving precision. Chief adapts instantly, shifting between ranged and melee attacks, exploiting terrain, and using the environment to create choke points where he can manage multiple threats. The battlefield becomes a dance of movement, timing, and adaptation, each encounter forcing him to expand his understanding of combat beyond technology alone. Despite the overwhelming number of threats, Chief's focus is unshakable. He recognizes that these creatures are not mindless. They are guardians of the land, each with its own patterns, instincts, and intelligence. Their aggression is tempered by awareness, and every attack carries intent, demanding that he read their movements, anticipate their strategies, and act decisively. In a world where bullets may falter and shields may fail, he begins to appreciate that survival depends on observation as much as firepower. Each encounter, no matter how brief, teaches him more about the creatures of Elden Ring. Their speed, their weaknesses, and the subtle cues that betray their next move. The forest itself seems complicit, shifting in response to the combat. Branches bend, roots lash out, and patches of ground sink or rise under the weight of invisible forces, creating a dynamic battlefield that is constantly evolving. Chief moves with calculated precision, using every tool at his disposal, from grappling with fallen logs to leveraging the terrain for cover, while remaining hyper-aware of the magical currents in the air. The creatures do not fight alone. The land fights with them, creating a constant interplay between environmental hazards and living threats. Chief adapts, realizing that success here is not measured by kills alone, but by his ability to read the world and respond with both instinct and strategy. Amid the chaos, one creature stands out, a massive, wolf-like entity with fur that seems woven from shadows and eyes that burn with unnatural intelligence. It approaches deliberately, sizing him up as if aware of his experience and training. Chief pauses, analyzing, noting the way it shifts its weight, the subtle flicker of light along its spine, and the pattern of its predatory lunges. Unlike the other creatures which attack reflexively, this one seems to be testing him, gauging his reactions. He adjusts his approach, adopting a fluid combination of offense and defense, exploiting openings while avoiding overcommitment. The battle becomes a duel of wits as much as skill, each movement a conversation between Spartan logic and the primal cunning of Elden Ring's wildlife. The shadowed wolf lunges without warning, its body blurring into motion as it crosses the distance in a heartbeat. Master Chief barely has time to react, pivoting as claws rake across his shields, sending a violent ripple of energy across his armor. The impact forces him back several steps, boots carving grooves into the damp earth. This creature is faster than anything he's encountered so far, its movements guided by instinct, sharpened by magic rather than training or technology. Chief steadies himself, lowering his center of gravity, watching closely. The wolf doesn't attack again immediately. Instead, it circles, head low, muscles coiled, eyes locked onto him with unsettling awareness. It isn't hunting blindly, it's studying him. Chief responds in kind. He feints a step forward, testing the creature's reaction. Instantly, it snaps backward, anticipating the strike before it comes. That's the opening. Chief changes tactics, using misdirection instead of force, drawing the wolf toward a cluster of broken stone where its speed is limited. The moment it commits, he fires a short burst at the ground beside it, not to wound, but to disorient. The explosion of dirt and debris disrupts its momentum, and Chief moves in, blade flashing. The strike lands cleanly this time, cutting through shadowed fur and releasing a surge of dark energy that howls as it dissipates into the air. The wolf recoils, wounded but not defeated, vanishing into the mist with a sound that feels more like a warning than a retreat. There is no time to recover. The forest erupts with movement as the remaining creatures close in. The spectral wolves advance in coordinated patterns, flanking from multiple directions, while the armored insects surge forward in a relentless tide, their chitinous shells clattering against stone and root. Chief shifts into constant motion, refusing to be surrounded. He uses fallen trees as barriers, forcing enemies into narrow paths, striking quickly before moving again. Every action is deliberate. Every decision carries risk. The creatures attack without hesitation, Yet their assaults are not random. There is structure to their aggression, a hierarchy of threat that mirrors the battlefield logic Chief knows all too well. As the fight escalates, Chief realizes something unsettling. These creatures are not reacting to him as an intruder alone. They are responding to him as a disruption. The land itself seems to push them forward, guiding their movements, amplifying their aggression. Roots burst from the ground mid-fight, forcing him to leap clear. A sudden surge of magical energy fractures the earth beneath his feet, nearly dropping him into a hidden ravine. The environment isn't just hostile, it's actively participating. This is a world that defends itself. Chief adapts again, timing his movements to the rhythm of the terrain. He learns when the ground is about to shift, when the air thickens before a magical surge, when the creatures hesitate for a fraction of a second before striking. Those moments become his lifeline. One by one, he forces the enemies back, not through overwhelming force, but through control, awareness, and relentless precision. When the final creature falls, dissolving into a faint shimmer of light, the forest grows eerily silent. Chief stands alone amid the wreckage, armor scorched, shields weakened, yet his posture remains steady. He scans the area, confirming the absence of immediate threats, but something has changed. The creatures are gone, yet their presence lingers, etched into the land like a memory. He understands now that every living thing in the lands between is an extension of something greater. These are not random beasts. They are manifestations of a world shaped by conflict, decay, and power beyond comprehension. As he moves forward deeper into the forest, Chief carries that realization with him. In Elden Ring, first contact is never just an encounter. It's a lesson. The creatures are not obstacles to overcome. They are warnings, signals of a world that does not tolerate invaders, that tests every step, every decision. And if this is what the wildlife alone can do, Chief knows with absolute certainty that the true masters of this realm will be far more dangerous than anything he has faced so far. The forest gradually thins as Master Chief presses onward, trees giving way to a wide, uneven plain littered with the remains of battles long forgotten. Rusted weapons jut from the earth like grave markers, and broken shields lie half buried in the soil, their symbols worn away by time. Whatever war once raged here did not end cleanly. It simply lingered. Chief moves carefully, recognizing the signs of a kill zone. Open ground, limited cover, too quiet. His visor sweeps left to right, and this time the readings spike all at once. Something massive is approaching. The ground trembles as a hulking creature drags itself into view, its body a grotesque fusion of flesh, armor, and warped bone. Chains hang from its limbs, clanking with each step, and its movements are slow but deliberate, as if it knows speed is unnecessary. Chief raises his weapon but hesitates. This thing is not a beast in the conventional sense. It carries scars of combat, trophies taken from fallen tarnished, and the unmistakable posture of something that has killed many times before. When it roars, the sound ripples outward, distorting the air, causing lesser creatures hidden in the tall grass to scatter in fear. This one is an apex predator. The creature charges, swinging a massive weapon that carves through the ground, sending stone and dirt exploding upward. Chief dodges just in time, the shockwave rattling his armor. He counters with precision fire aimed at exposed joints, not expecting a kill, but testing reactions. The results are immediate. The creature adapts, shifting its stance, angling its armor to deflect incoming fire. It learns. That realization hits hard. These creatures are not static enemies. They evolve mid-combat, responding to threats with experience forged in endless cycles of death and rebirth. Chief switches tactics, drawing the creature toward a collapsed structure where movement is restricted. He uses verticality, climbing broken walls and leaping down to strike before retreating again. Each hit draws a surge of corrupted energy from the creature's wounds, staining the air with a sickly glow. The fight becomes a war of attrition, every exchange draining resources, testing endurance. Chief's shields flicker dangerously low, and for the first time since arriving, the possibility of failure presses in on him with uncomfortable clarity. As the creature finally falls, collapsing into a heap of fading light and ash, the plain remains silent. No victory music, no confirmation. Just the wind sweeping across the battlefield, carrying whispers of countless others who tried and failed. Chief stands still, processing what he's learned. The creatures of the lands between are not just obstacles. They are products of a cycle, shaped by suffering, empowered by magic, and sustained by a world that refuses to let anything truly end. He notices it then. Where the creature fell, a faint glow lingers, coalescing into a small, pulsing fragment of energy. Not technology, not magic as he understands it, something in between. He doesn't touch it, but he studies it, recognizing its significance. This world rewards confrontation, but at a cost. Power is earned here through survival, not conquest, through persistence, not domination. As he moves on, more creatures reveal themselves. Some hostile, some eerily passive, watching from a distance as if judging him. A massive crab-like monstrosity rises from a shallow lake, only to sink back beneath the surface when Chief does not engage. Flying entities circle overhead, keeping their distance, tracking his movement across the land. The ecosystem is aware of him now. He is no longer just an intruder. He is a variable. Chief tightens his grip on his weapon, scanning the horizon where towering ruins loom closer with every step. The creatures he has faced so far are only the outer layer of this world's defenses. If even the wildlife demands this level of precision, discipline, and adaptation, then the beings that rule these lands will be something else entirely. The lands between does not test strength alone. It tests resolve. And with every encounter, Master Chief is learning the most important rule of survival here. Nothing fights alone. Not the creatures, not the land, and not the forces watching from beyond the fog. The forest gradually thins as Master Chief presses onward, trees giving way to a wide, uneven plain littered with the remains of battles long forgotten. Rusted weapons jut from the earth like grave markers, and broken shields lie half buried in the soil, their symbols worn away by time. Whatever war once raged here did not end cleanly. It simply lingered. Chief moves carefully, recognizing the signs of a kill zone. Open ground, limited cover, too quiet. His visor sweeps left to right, and this time the readings spike all at once. Something massive is approaching. The ground trembles as a hulking creature drags itself into view, its body a grotesque fusion of flesh, armor, and warped bone. Chains hang from its limbs, clanking with each step, and its movements are slow but deliberate, as if it knows speed is unnecessary. Chief raises his weapon but hesitates. This thing is not a beast in the conventional sense. It carries scars of combat, trophies taken from fallen tarnished, and the unmistakable posture of something that has killed many times before. When it roars, the sound ripples outward, distorting the air, causing lesser creatures hidden in the tall grass to scatter in fear. This one is an apex predator. The creature charges, swinging a massive weapon that carves through the ground, sending stone and dirt exploding upward. Chief dodges just in time, the shockwave rattling his armor. He counters with precision fire aimed at exposed joints, not expecting a kill, but testing reactions. The results are immediate. The creature adapts, shifting its stance, angling its armor to deflect incoming fire. It learns. That realization hits hard. These creatures are not static enemies. They evolve mid-combat, responding to threats with experience forged in endless cycles of death and rebirth. Chief switches tactics, drawing the creature toward a collapsed structure where movement is restricted. He uses verticality, climbing broken walls and leaping down to strike before retreating again. Each hit draws a surge of corrupted energy from the creature's wounds, staining the air with a sickly glow. The fight becomes a war of attrition, every exchange draining resources, testing endurance. Chief's shields flicker dangerously low, and for the first time since arriving, the possibility of failure presses in on him with uncomfortable clarity. As the creature finally falls, collapsing into a heap of fading light and ash, the plain remains silent. No victory music, no confirmation. Just the wind sweeping across the battlefield, carrying whispers of countless others who tried and failed. Chief stands still, processing what he's learned. The creatures of the lands between are not just obstacles. They are products of a cycle, shaped by suffering, empowered by magic, and sustained by a world that refuses to let anything truly end. He notices it then. Where the creature fell, a faint glow lingers, coalescing into a small, pulsing fragment of energy. Not technology, not magic as he understands it. Something in between. He doesn't touch it, but he studies it, recognizing its significance. This world rewards confrontation, but at a cost. Power is earned here through survival, not conquest, through persistence, not domination. As he moves on, more creatures reveal themselves. Some hostile, some eerily passive, watching from a distance as if judging him. A massive crab-like monstrosity rises from a shallow lake, only to sink back beneath the surface when Chief does not engage. Flying entities circle overhead, keeping their distance, tracking his movement across the land. The ecosystem is aware of him now. He is no longer just an intruder. He is a variable. Chief tightens his grip on his weapon, scanning the horizon where towering ruins loom closer with every step. The creatures he has faced so far are only the outer layer of this world's defenses. If even the wildlife demands this level of precision, discipline, and adaptation, then the beings that rule these lands will be something else entirely. The lands between does not test strength alone. It tests resolve. And with every encounter, Master Chief is learning the most important rule of survival here. Nothing fights alone. Not the creatures, not the land, and not the forces watching from beyond the fog. As the ruins draw nearer, Master Chief becomes acutely aware that the creatures he has encountered were never meant to stop him outright. They were meant to measure him. Every ambush, every coordinated strike, every sudden shift in terrain feels deliberate, as though the lands between is constantly assessing his worth, testing whether he is predator, prey, or something else entirely. The realization settles heavily in his mind. This world does not simply react to strength, it reacts to persistence. Near the outskirts of a shattered settlement, the air grows colder, thick with a sense of watchfulness. Figures begin to emerge from the fog. Not beasts, but warped echoes of once humanoid forms. They move with jerky, unnatural precision, their armor fused to decayed flesh, weapons trembling with residual magic. These are not wildlife, these are remnants. Former warriors twisted by the land's cruel cycles, bound to endless conflict. When they attack, there is hesitation in their movements, flashes of something almost recognizable beneath the corruption. Chief engages carefully, not out of mercy, but necessity. These foes fight with intention, adapting mid-battle, coordinating in silence. They are disciplined in a way that mirrors his own training, and that similarity is unsettling. Each clash is brutal and efficient. Chief parries enchanted blades, counters crushing blows, and uses controlled bursts of fire to stagger enemies rather than overwhelm them. He quickly learns that reckless aggression is punished here. Overextension invites retaliation. Precision is rewarded. The creatures fall one by one, dissolving into faint light, leaving behind nothing but silence and a lingering sense of loss. The battlefield feels wrong. Not triumphant, not relieved, but heavy, as if the land itself mourns even as it continues to fight. When the last of them falls, Chief pauses, scanning the ruins. Broken homes, collapsed towers, and scorched earth stretch as far as he can see. This was once a place of life. Now it is a proving ground. He recognizes the pattern forming across his encounters. The creatures of the lands between are not merely enemies. They are reflections of the world's history, shaped by ambition, decay, and endless struggle. To face them is to confront the consequences of a realm that has forgotten peace. As night begins to fall, the sky shifts into deep purples and ember-like reds, casting long shadows that distort reality. New sounds echo across the land. Distant roars, metallic clashes, and something else entirely. Laughter, faint and unsettling. Chief tightens his grip, understanding that darkness here does not simply conceal danger. It invites it. The creatures grow bolder at night, moving closer, watching from beyond torchlight and moon glow. He does not rest. He cannot afford to. Through it all, Chief remains focused. Each encounter sharpens his awareness, refines his approach, and deepens his understanding of this world's brutal logic. He no longer sees the creatures as random threats. They are pieces of a greater design, guardians of something deeper, more powerful, and far more dangerous than anything he has faced so far. Whatever governs the lands between has layered its defenses carefully, and he has only scratched the surface. As he reaches the edge of the settlement, a final presence makes itself known. Not an attack, not yet. Something watches from a high tower, unmoving, unseen, but unmistakably aware of him. Chief feels it in the subtle shift of the air, in the way the creatures retreat rather than pursue. This is no beast. This is intelligence, authority. The first true sign that he is no longer dealing solely with monsters, but with minds that command them. Master Chief stops, looking toward the looming structure as the wind carries the distant echoes of battle and despair. He understands now that surviving the creatures was only the beginning. First contact has been made, and the lands between has taken notice. The wildlife, the corrupted warriors, the sentinels of the land, all of them were a warning. Ahead lie forces that do not simply exist within the world, but rule it. And if he is to continue forward, if he is to survive what waits beyond those ruins, Master Chief will need more than weapons and armor. He will need allies, understanding, and a willingness to navigate a world where nothing is given freely. Not safety, not truth, and certainly not mercy. With the night settling in and unseen eyes watching from the darkness, Master Chief advances toward the ruins, knowing that the next step of his journey will not be defined by monsters alone, but by the choices he makes, and the beings he chooses to trust. Master Chief enters the ruins cautiously, expecting another ambush, another sudden eruption of violence from the shadows. Instead, he finds something far more unsettling. Stillness. Torches flicker along cracked stone walls, their flames steady despite the wind, and the remains of a campfire glow faintly at the center of a collapsed courtyard. Someone has been here recently, someone alive. His sensors pick up movement ahead, slow and deliberate, not predatory. A figure steps into view, cloaked, face partially hidden, posture relaxed in a way that immediately sets off alarms in Chief's mind. This is not a creature driven by instinct. This is a survivor. The Tarnished regards him without fear, eyes lingering on the gleaming armor, the unfamiliar silhouette, the way Chief moves with controlled precision. There is no immediate attack, no challenge, only curiosity layered with caution. When the figure speaks, their voice carries the weight of exhaustion and experience, offering fragments of guidance rather than direct answers. Warnings about the land, mentions of demigods. The name of the Elden Ring spoken with reverence and bitterness intertwined. Chief listens, silent, absorbing every word, analyzing tone and intent. In his world, allies are identified through command structure and shared objectives. Here, trust is earned through survival and mutual benefit. As he moves deeper into the settlement, more figures reveal themselves. Some keep their distance, watching from doorways and rooftops, while others approach with guarded interest. Each interaction feels like a negotiation. Information is never given freely. Questions are answered with riddles, half-truths, or unsettling laughter. Chief recognizes the pattern quickly. These people have been broken by the lands between, shaped by loss, betrayal, and endless struggle. Their alliances are fluid, their loyalties conditional. Helping one may anger another. Ignoring them may carry consequences later. This is not a battlefield where enemies are clearly marked. This is a social minefield where intent matters as much as action. One figure in particular stands apart. A knight seated against a crumbling wall, armor dulled by age and battle, weapon resting across their knees. Their gaze is sharp, assessing Chief not as a curiosity, but as a potential rival. When they speak, there is no mysticism in their voice, only hard-earned realism. They challenge him openly, not with steel, but with words. Questions about purpose, about why he fights, about whether he seeks to restore the world or simply survive it. Chief does not answer directly. He never does. But something in his silence seems to satisfy the knight, who nods slowly, as if recognizing a familiar burden carried by a different kind of warrior. Chief begins to understand that every NPC in the lands between is both ally and threat, sometimes simultaneously. Assistance often comes with hidden cost. Guidance may lead into danger disguised as opportunity. Even kindness feels conditional, as though the world itself is waiting to see how he responds. He recalls the wars he's fought, the alliances forged under fire, the betrayals born from desperation. Yet this is different. There are no briefing rooms here, no clear objectives, only individuals navigating a broken world, each convinced that their path is the only one that matters. As the night deepens, conversations grow quieter, more intimate, and more dangerous. Stories emerge of fallen champions, of tarnished who trusted the wrong voice and paid the price. Names are whispered with reverence or contempt, sometimes both. Chief listens, committing everything to memory. These interactions are not filler. They are warnings. Road signs etched into human behavior rather than stone. And with each exchange, he realizes that survival in the lands between is not determined solely by combat skill, but by judgment. Knowing who to help, who to challenge, and who to walk away from before the blade is ever drawn. As dawn creeps over the ruined settlement, Master Chief notices the subtle shift in how the tarnished regard him. Whispers follow his movements now, quiet and measured, as if his presence has disrupted a fragile equilibrium. Some avert their gaze, others stare openly, curiosity outweighing fear. He catches fragments of conversation, speculation about what he is, where he came from, whether he is a sign of hope or another omen of ruin. In the lands between, identity is fluid, shaped not by origin, but by action. Chief understands this instinctively. Reputation here is not claimed. It is observed, judged, and remembered. One traveler approaches him cautiously, offering information in exchange for protection along a nearby road. Their hands tremble as they speak, eyes darting constantly toward the fog beyond the ruins. Chief considers the request, weighing risk against reward. Escorting civilians is nothing new to him, but here, the danger isn't just physical. Traveling with someone binds him to their fate, entangles him in conflicts he does not yet understand. Still, he agrees, recognizing that movement through this world is rarely meant to be solitary. The road ahead becomes a test not just of combat readiness, but of trust. Along the path, the traveler speaks of factions scattered across the lands between. Tarnished bound to forgotten oaths, sorcerers chasing power at any cost, warriors serving demigods they secretly despise. Every group claims righteousness, yet all are stained by compromise. Chief listens, mapping alliances the way he would enemy territories, noting contradictions, recognizing patterns of manipulation. He's fought alongside alien species, negotiated ceasefires under threat of annihilation, but this is different. These people aren't fighting for survival alone. They're fighting for meaning. And meaning, he realizes, is far more dangerous than any weapon. Their journey is interrupted by another encounter. A lone figure blocks the road, standing calmly with a staff planted into the earth. There is no immediate hostility, only expectation. When they speak, it is not to demand surrender or tribute, but to question Chief's intent. Why does he fight? What does he seek in a land that devours ambition? The questions feel less like interrogation and more like judgment. Chief responds with action rather than explanation, stepping forward without raising his weapon, signaling neither submission nor aggression. The figure studies him for a long moment, then steps aside, warning him that neutrality is a myth in the lands between. Everyone chooses eventually, whether they admit it or not. As they continue, Chief notices how NPCs react differently depending on his action. Some offer guidance more freely now. Others grow colder, wary of the ripple effects his presence is causing. Small decisions echo outward. Sparing an enemy, refusing a bargain, choosing not to intervene in a dispute. This world remembers. It keeps score in subtle ways, altering paths, closing doors, opening others with consequences that may not reveal themselves until much later. Chief recognizes the strategic depth beneath it all. This isn't chaos. It's a system built on consequence. When they reach a crossroads, the traveler thanks him and departs quickly, unwilling to linger where fate might catch up. Chief watches them disappear into the fog, aware that he may never see them again, or that their path may intersect with his in a far darker context. That uncertainty lingers as he moves on, heavier than any weapon. Allies here are temporary. Trust is conditional, and every interaction carries the potential to reshape the journey ahead. As the ruins fade behind him, Chief reflects on what he's learned. The lands between is not just a test of strength, but of restraint, awareness, and judgment. NPCs are not side characters in this world. They are survivors navigating a collapsing reality, each with motives as complex and fractured as the land itself. Some will help him, some will betray him, and some will do both, depending on the choices he makes. Moving forward, Master Chief understands one critical truth. In this realm, the most dangerous encounters do not always begin with drawn weapons. Sometimes they begin with a conversation, and end with consequences that follow you for the rest of the journey. As Master Chief travels deeper into the lands between, the nature of his encounters begins to change. The NPCs he meets are no longer merely cautious or curious. Some are deliberate, calculating, watching him the way predators study unfamiliar prey. He crosses paths with a robed figure near a broken bridge, their face hidden, voice calm and unnervingly polite. They offer knowledge freely, speaking of hidden paths, powerful relics, and enemies yet unseen. But Chief senses the imbalance immediately. The information is too precise, too eager. In his experience, nothing of value is given without expectation. He listens, commits every word to memory, but offers nothing in return. When he leaves, he feels the weight of unseen eyes tracking him, measuring whether he will follow the path laid before him or defy it. Not all encounters are veiled in manipulation. In a desolate chapel, he finds a lone blacksmith hammering tirelessly at a broken anvil, sparks flying despite the absence of proper tools. The blacksmith barely acknowledges him at first, consumed by the act of creation in a world defined by destruction. When they finally speak, it's not of allegiance or ideology, but of persistence, of continuing one's purpose even when the world no longer rewards it. Chief recognizes that kind of resolve immediately. No promises are made, no deals struck. Yet when he leaves, his equipment feels subtly reinforced, as though effort itself has value here, even without ceremony. Elsewhere, he encounters hostility masked as civility. A group of tarnished welcomes him into their encampment, offering rest and supplies, their smiles warm, their tone reassuring. But Chief notices inconsistencies. Weapons kept within arm's reach, conversations that fall silent when he approaches, glances exchanged too quickly to be accidental. He remains alert, declining invitation politely, never fully relaxing. When he leaves before nightfall, he hears movement behind him, footsteps that stop the moment he turns. The message is clear. Trust too easily here, and you will be punished for it. What unsettles Chief most is how often NPCs attempt to define him. Some call him a savior, projecting hope onto a stranger clad in impossible armor. Others whisper that he is an omen, a harbinger of greater catastrophe. Few ask who he actually is. In the lands between, identity is assigned by perception, not truth. Chief has worn many titles across his life: soldier, weapon, hero. And he recognizes the danger of accepting any of them too readily. Labels here shape fate, and fate is rarely kind. As his reputation spreads, so too does the complexity of his interactions. Certain NPCs become more guarded, withholding information they once might have shared. Others grow bolder, testing boundaries, probing for weakness. A sorcerer challenges his resistance to magic, attempting to demonstrate superiority rather than seek cooperation. A warrior demands proof of strength, mistaking discipline for hesitation. Chief responds to each in measured ways, choosing when to assert dominance and when to disengage. Every response is intentional. Every choice becomes another thread woven into the world's memory of him. Over time, Chief realizes that NPCs are not static figures waiting to assist or obstruct. They evolve in response to his actions, their attitudes shifting subtly, sometimes imperceptibly. A life spared earlier leads to a warning offered later. A refusal to intervene creates resentment that surfaces when least expected. This world does not forget. It observes, judges, and adapts. And unlike the creatures he's faced, these beings possess ambition, fear, and desire. Forces far harder to predict than claws or steel. By the time he reaches another crossroads, Chief understands that navigating the lands between requires more than combat readiness. It requires emotional intelligence, restraint, and an awareness of consequence that extends far beyond the present moment. Allies may become enemies. Enemies may offer aid. And some figures, smiling and soft-spoken, may be far more dangerous than any beast lurking in the fog. As he continues forward, the path ahead narrowing beneath a sky heavy with ash-colored clouds, Master Chief accepts a new reality. In this world, battles are fought not only with weapons, but with choices, silences, and moments of trust withheld or extended. The true test is not simply surviving encounters. It is surviving the consequences of every interaction that follows. As Master Chief presses onward, the emotional gravity of these interactions begins to settle in. He's fought alongside soldiers who would follow him into impossible odds, and he's faced enemies whose intentions were brutally clear. But the NPCs of the lands between exist in a gray space that refuses clarity. Some aid him not out of loyalty, but curiosity. Others oppose him not out of malice, but fear of what change might bring. This ambiguity forces Chief into unfamiliar territory. Victory here cannot always be measured in cleared objectives or neutralized threats. Sometimes success is simply walking away before a situation curdles into violence. In one ruined settlement, he encounters a woman tending to spectral flowers that bloom only at dusk. She speaks softly, almost as if afraid the world itself might overhear her thoughts. She asks him nothing, offers no guidance, only a quiet observation that those who survive too long here often forget why they're still moving. The words linger longer than any warning shouted in battle. Chief has endured years of war, without allowing reflection to slow him down. But in this place, moments like this feel deliberate, as if the world itself is testing whether he can carry introspection without hesitation becoming weakness. Not every encounter remains subtle. A knight sworn to a forgotten order confronts him on a narrow causeway, demanding allegiance or blood. There is no room for negotiation, no hidden motive beneath the challenge. Chief recognizes this type instantly. Honor-bound, rigid, dangerous, but honest. Their clash is brief and brutal, armor ringing against armor, the fight ending not in death, but in mutual recognition. The knight steps aside, wounded pride intact, acknowledging strength without submission. It's one of the few interactions in the lands between that feels clean, untainted by deception. As stories of the armored outsider spread, some NPCs begin to test him indirectly. Traps are laid where guidance once existed. Paths that were safe become monitored. A merchant raises prices, not out of greed, but caution. Chief adapts, learning to read the invisible signals. The way a voice tightens when mentioning certain names, the hesitation before directions are given, the silence where a warning should be. He realizes these people survive by anticipation, not courage. And survival has taught them to expect betrayal before mercy. Yet there are moments of unexpected connection. A wandering warrior shares a fire with him in silence, no names exchanged, no pasts revealed. They sit as equals, bound only by exhaustion and the shared understanding that rest itself is a luxury. When they part ways, there is no promise of reunion. And yet, that fleeting companionship leaves an impression stronger than many alliances ever could. It reminds Chief of the quiet bonds formed between soldiers who may never meet again, but recognize each other instantly. By the time this chapter of his journey draws toward its end, Master Chief understands that NPCs in the lands between are not side characters in a larger tale. They are survivors clinging to fragments of purpose, each one shaped by loss, obsession, or fate and hope. Engaging with them reshapes the world subtly but permanently, altering routes, outcomes, and perceptions in ways that cannot be undone. As he moves toward the next horizon, one truth becomes undeniable. In a land ruled by gods, curses, and endless conflict, it is the fragile, unpredictable nature of its people that presents the greatest challenge. Steel can break enemies, strategy can win battles, but navigating hearts, fears, and intentions demands a different kind of strength. And in the lands between, that strength may prove to be the rarest weapon of all. The first true boss encounter doesn't announce itself with a cinematic entrance or a clear declaration of hostility. It arrives as pressure. The air thickens, gravity feels heavier, like the world itself is bracing. Master Chief senses it before he sees it, the same instinct that once warned him of hunters lurking behind smoke or a scarab cresting a ridge. But this is different. The presence ahead isn't tactical, it's mythic. A towering figure emerges from ruin and fog, less a creature than a walking legend. Its movements deliberate, ceremonial, as if combat here is a ritual rather than a clash of force. Chief approaches with calculated calm, scanning for weak points, studying posture, timing, weapon reach. His HUD feeds him data, but the information feels insufficient. This enemy does not conform to logic. Its attacks bend space, dragging shock waves across the ground in patterns that feel intentional, almost artistic. Every strike carries weight beyond damage, as if each blow is meant to remind him that he is trespassing in a story far older than himself. And yet, when the battle begins, instinct overrides awe. The Spartan moves, fast, precise, purpose-driven. Gunfire erupts against ancient flesh and enchanted armor, rounds sparking uselessly before Chief adapts. He closes distance, exploiting moments between colossal swings, treating the boss not as a god, but as a battlefield problem. The clash becomes a brutal conversation between eras. future against forgotten past, technology against faith, strategy against raw, overwhelming power. When the creature finally falls, it doesn't collapse like a defeated enemy. It crumbles, dissolving into light and ash, leaving behind silence that feels almost reverent. But victory offers no relief, only escalation. Each boss that follows feels less like an opponent and more like a question posed by the lands between. One confronts him atop a windswept plateau, wielding lightning as casually as a blade. Another hunts him through a cathedral of rot and decay, punishing hesitation with relentless aggression. These battles are not about winning quickly. They are about endurance, about learning rhythms that defy reason, about surviving patterns that feel designed to break resolve rather than armor. What unsettles Chief most is not their strength, but their intent. These bosses do not fight to conquer territory or fulfill orders. They fight because they are bound to roles they cannot escape. Guardians, curses given form, remnants of ambition twisted into obligation. In their eyes, he sees no hatred, only inevitability. And that forces him to confront something unfamiliar. In his world, enemies could be stopped. Here, they are chapters that must be endured. As each battle pushes him closer to his limits, Master Chief begins to realize that raw firepower alone will never be enough. He must adapt not just his tactics, but his mindset. These fights demand patience over aggression, humility over dominance. Every defeat teaches restraint. Every narrow victory carves caution deeper into his approach. And as the scale of these encounters grows, so does the unsettling truth that the greatest bosses of the lands between are not merely a test in his skill. They are measuring whether someone built for war can survive a world that thrives on suffering, legend, and endless cycles of defiance. The deeper Master Chief ventures, the more the bosses begin to feel less like isolated encounters and more like expressions of the world's will. One emerges from beneath a shattered bridge, dragging a weapon too large to be wielded by anything mortal. The fight unfolds in stages, each phase stripping away another assumption Chief carries into combat. Distance is no longer safety. Cover becomes irrelevant. Even timing betrays him, as feints and delayed strikes punish instincts that have saved his life countless times before. He's forced to unlearn habits forged across decades of battle and replace them with something closer to intuition. In another encounter, he faces a being that manipulates space itself, warping the battlefield until directions lose meaning. Attacks come from above, below, and within, forcing Chief to rely on spatial awareness rather than sight alone. His shield flickers under sustained pressure, and for the first time in a long while, retreat becomes a viable tactic rather than a failure. He repositions, observes, waits. When he strikes again, it's not with brute force, but with timing refined to near perfection. Victory comes not from overpowering the boss, but from understanding it. What makes these battles truly disorienting is how the environment becomes an active participant. Crumbling floors, shifting platforms, and hostile terrain conspire with the boss to overwhelm intruders. Chief adapts by treating the battlefield itself as an enemy, mapping danger zones in real time, predicting collapses, baiting attacks that reshape the arena in his favor. It's a level of environmental warfare he hasn't faced since fighting inside collapsing megastructures, yet here, there is no engineering logic to rely on. The chaos is intentional, almost cruel. Between encounters, remnants of the fallen linger, not trophies, but echoes. Whispers carried on the wind, faint lights hovering where legends once stood. Chief doesn't linger on them, but they affect him all the same. Each boss defeated feels like removing a pillar from an already unstable world. He begins to question whether these victories are restoring balance or accelerating collapse. The lands between offers no answers, only more trials. Some bosses test resolve more than reflex. One fight stretches endlessly, not because of difficulty, but repetition. The enemy rises again and again, reforming after each defeat, forcing Chief to confront the futility of persistence without purpose. It's a battle designed to exhaust patience, to break the will through monotony rather than spectacle. When he finally prevails, it's not because the boss was slain, but because the cycle itself was disrupted. As the scale and symbolism of these battles intensify, Master Chief realizes that each confrontation is carving something away from him. Not his strength, but his certainty. In this world, winning does not always feel like progress. Sometimes it feels like stepping deeper into a story that refuses to end, where every triumph carries the weight of unintended consequence. And with every fallen legend, the question grows louder. Is he conquering the lands between, or becoming another part of its endless, unforgiving mythology? As the battles escalate, the bosses begin to blur the line between combat and revelation. One confrontation unfolds beneath a fractured sky, where the ground is scorched black and the air hums with lingering power. The enemy towers over him, its form shifting between solid flesh and something far more abstract, like a memory given mass. Every attack it unleashes seems to echo with history, as though Chief is not just fighting the creature, but the consequences of countless wars fought long before he arrived. Each blow lands with emotional weight, challenging not just his armor, but his sense of identity as a soldier built to end conflicts, not inherit them. Chief adapts again, pushing beyond standard engagement protocols. He times his movements to the enemy's transformations, striking when the creature stabilizes, retreating when it dissolves into raw energy. The fight becomes a dance between precision and restraint, where impatience means annihilation. When the boss finally falls, it releases a shock wave that ripples across the land, visible for miles. The victory feels monumental, yet hollow. There is no celebration, only the distant sense that something irreversible has occurred. Another encounter strips away spectacle entirely, trapping Chief in a confined space with an enemy that thrives on proximity. There is no room to maneuver, no time to reload comfortably. Every second demands decision. Every mistake compounds instantly. The boss fights like an executioner, relentless and efficient, forcing Chief into a brutal test of endurance. Shields fail, armor dents. He survives not by overpowering the enemy, but by enduring longer than it expects anyone to. When the fight ends, Chief stands alone in the wreckage, systems strained, silence pressing in around him. What unsettles him most is how these bosses react to defeat. Some resist until the final moment, roaring defiance into the void. Others accept their end with quiet resignation, as if relief outweighs loss. One collapses to its knees, lowering its weapon before fading away, leaving Chief with the uneasy sense that he is granted mercy through violence. These reactions linger, haunting him far more than the fights themselves. As rumors of his victory spread, the remaining bosses feel less like guardians and more like inevitabilities converging. Their presence grows heavier, their arenas more symbolic, their designs increasingly abstract. These are not obstacles placed in his path. They are manifestations of the lands between responding to intrusion, testing him, adapting to him. Every battle feels curated, as though the world is learning how to challenge a Spartan. Through it all, Master Chief remains resolute, but changed. He no longer enters these fights expecting dominance. He enters prepared to listen, to observe, to survive. The act of combat becomes dialogue, each exchange revealing something about the world and about himself. And with each fallen boss, the realization deepens. These battles are not about proven strength. They are about whether someone forged for endless war can confront gods, curses, and living legends without losing the core that makes him more than a weapon. The crescendo of these battles comes not with a single climactic fight, but with the cumulative weight of every encounter. By now, Master Chief moves through the lands between with measured caution, every footstep considered, every swing of his blade intentional. He has faced towering constructs of sinew and steel, creatures that warp reality itself, and beings whose very existence challenges the boundaries of thought. And yet the world continues to escalate, introducing new forms of opposition that defy prediction, testing not just reflexes, but his capacity for adaptation and comprehension. One of the most daunting bosses awaits in a cathedral of shattered light, the ruins filled with statues of forgotten heroes whose gazes seem to follow him. The entity itself rises from the altar, a mass of shifting forms. A knight, a dragon, and something far older, all interwoven into a single consciousness. Its attacks are multi-layered, combining elemental force, physical destruction, and illusions designed to provoke hesitation. Chief experiences a sensation unfamiliar to even his Spartan training, awe mingled with fear. He realizes that this battle is as much psychological as it is physical. The boss fights not just to kill him, but to impose doubt, to test whether a soldier accustomed to certainty can survive in a world that denies it. The fight is punishing. Every strike must be anticipated, every movement calculated. The arena itself transforms, platforms collapsing, shadows rising into forms that attack with indistinct intent. Chief leverages every tool at his disposal, the environment, the precise timing of his attacks, and the lessons gleaned from every creature and enemy he has faced before. Each phase demands adaptation. When one approach fails, he pivots instantly, analyzing patterns and exploiting vulnerabilities with Spartan efficiency. Victory is a balance between learned instinct and the creativity required by an unpredictable world. Even after the boss falls, it leaves a mark. Not a body to collect, not a treasure to claim, but an echo that reverberates through the battlefield in the mind. The ground quakes faintly, energy ripples outward, and faint, haunting whispers echo in the empty cathedral. Chief recognizes that every boss is more than a test of strength. Each one is a story, a lesson, a fragment of the lands between itself. The victories are simultaneously triumphant and humbling, forcing reflection on the limits of his understanding and the magnitude of the challenges still ahead. The other bosses he faces afterward continue this pattern, each encounter more surreal, more layered, more conceptually challenging than the last. One rises from a pit of molten stone, its form constantly shifting like liquid metal, testing Chief's ability to predict fluid patterns. Another emerges from a storm-tossed tower, manipulating wind and lightning in a choreography of death. Each battle reinforces the truth he has already begun to grasp. Raw firepower and armor are secondary to adaptability, awareness, and comprehension of forces far beyond conventional logic. Master Chief's endurance is pushed to the brink, but these fights also refine him. Each confrontation expands his tactical toolkit, sharpens reflexes, and forces him to consider combat as a dialogue rather than a simple clash. He learns to anticipate intention rather than just motion, to read the environment as much as the opponent, and to respect the intelligence and history embedded in every adversary. By the time he emerges from the final arena of this segment, battered and bloodied yet unbowed, he has not only survived, but evolved. The lands between has left its mark. The bosses are more than obstacles. They are teachers, each presenting lessons on resilience, adaptation, and the consequences of hubris. Chief has learned to confront the impossible, not simply to destroy it, but to understand it. And in doing so, he realizes that the greatest challenges in this world are not those that can be felled by strength alone. The bosses are living tests of ingenuity, endurance, and insight. Each one conquered is a reminder that the lands between is a world designed to challenge the very essence of a warrior, and that survival here demands more than skill. It demands comprehension beyond human expectation. Emerging from the shadow of the last arena, Chief pauses to survey the land. The path ahead is uncertain, littered with remnants of battles fought long before his arrival. He understands now that the bosses are only part of the challenge. The true trial will be navigating the world itself, its people, its creatures, its cycles of chaos and consequence. And as the wind carries the faint echoes of distant battles, Master Chief steels himself. Beyond comprehension lies the next horizon, and he knows he must face it fully aware that each decision, each engagement, may carry consequences far greater than the immediate threat. The segment closes with him, standing on a precipice overlooking a valley filled with swirling mist and faint spectral lights. The horizon promises new trials, even more formidable forces, and encounters that will challenge not just his strength, but his understanding of reality itself. For Master Chief, the lands between has proven one immutable truth. Here, even legends are only the beginning. Master Chief stands at the edge of a cliff, overlooking the vast expanse of the lands between. The fog swirls below like a restless sea, dotted with distant ruins, glimmering lakes, and the faint glint of mysterious structures barely visible through the haze. He has walked paths few could endure, faced creatures that defy comprehension, and survived battles that would have claimed any ordinary warrior. And yet, despite the carnage and the endless trials, there is a strange beauty in the world's harshness. Every ruin tells a story. Every scar on the land is a testament to struggles that predate him. And every survivor, every NPC, carries fragments of lives that mirror the complexity of this realm. Chief takes it all in, analyzing, observing, preparing. In this world, understanding is as crucial as strength. The legacy of a Spartan is forged in conflict, discipline, and endurance. Here, those qualities are tested in ways that no battlefield in human history could match. The creatures, the bosses, the enigmatic NPCs, all challenge not just skill, but perspective. Chief begins to see the patterns, the threads, connecting events, people, and power across the lands between. Decisions he made weeks ago still ripple through settlements, affecting NPC behavior, opening some paths while closing others. Every choice, every act of combat or restraint, contributes to a reputation that spreads silently across the land. Unlike the battlefield reports and tactical debriefs of his own universe, here the world itself remembers. His legacy is written in whispers, in the echoes of enemies felled and allies aided. In the subtle way the land seems to shift to accommodate or challenge him. As he descends from the cliff into a valley cloaked in golden mist, Chief encounters remnants of great conflicts etched into stone, statues of fallen demigods, towers shattered by colossal battles, and artifacts imbued with lingering energy stand as silent witnesses to the passage of time. In his world, history is recorded in files, memories, and monuments, but here, history lives, breathes, and fights back. He touches a broken sword half buried in the earth and feels the faint resonance of past bloodshed, a reminder that power carries consequences far beyond the immediate. These lessons are etched into the land itself, and Chief knows that survival here requires more than courage or firepower. It demands reverence for forces larger than any Spartan has ever faced. As night falls, the valley transforms into a surreal landscape of shadows and faint, spectral lights. He moves with deliberate precision, aware that even darkness is dangerous, that every flicker of movement could conceal both friend and foe. NPCs begin to emerge from hiding, some approaching cautiously, others observing from a distance. Chief recognizes the subtle dance of interaction, respect earned through restraint, trust tested through observation, allegiance given only when necessity demands it. Unlike his previous battles, these encounters are not about survival in the immediate sense. They are about shaping a legacy. How he is remembered, how he is interpreted by a world so alien yet so alive, depends entirely on his choices in these fleeting, critical moments. Among the NPCs, a familiar figure appears. The knight who tested him earlier, once a rigid enforcer of a forgotten code, now standing at the valley's edge with quiet acknowledgement. No words are exchanged, yet Chief senses understanding. The Spartan's presence has altered more than the land. It has altered the way these survivors perceive hope, fear, and possibility. In a world that thrives on suffering and cycles of struggle, even a single unyielding figure can become a point of stability, a symbol that inspires both caution and courage. Chief's legacy begins not with dominance, but with influence, and he recognizes that survival alone is not enough to define it. The trials he has faced, the creatures, the NPCs, the impossible bosses, have honed more than his combat skills. They have forced him to observe, to strategize beyond conventional logic, to read intent and consequence in ways no battlefield manual could teach. He carries forward lessons that cannot be measured in kills or victories, but in understanding. In this world, comprehension is power, influence is power. The choices he makes now, in the valleys, ruins, and mist-filled forests, will echo across the land in ways even he cannot fully predict. The Spartan realizes that legacy is not simply survival, but resonance, the impact left on a world that watches, remembers, and responds to every action. As Master Chief moves through the valley, the scale of the lands between becomes increasingly apparent. Mountains rise like jagged teeth in the distance, rivers carve deep canyons, and forests stretch endlessly, each with its own unseen inhabitants and hidden dangers. Every step carries the weight of possibility, a hostile encounter, a hidden artifact, or an NPC in need of aid. Chief senses the layers of life, conflict, and history intertwined here. The land is alive not only in the conventional sense, but with memory, consequence, and expectation. He has learned that brute force is insufficient. Survival requires observation, insight, and the subtle interplay of action and reaction. Along the path, he encounters another survivor, a sorcerer cloaked in tattered robes, who regards him with a mixture of wariness and curiosity. Unlike the beasts or bosses, this figure offers no direct threat, but their presence carries implicit challenge. They speak cryptically, hinting at forces far greater than Chief has yet faced, and warn him that the choices he makes now will ripple far beyond immediate survival. Every interaction in this world is a test, not only of combat, but of judgment. Chief listens, analyzing tone, intent, and consequence, recognizing that alliances are temporary, and even guidance can conceal peril. In one stretch of forest, he comes upon a battlefield littered with the corpses of ancient champions. Broken banners flutter in the wind, and scattered weapons pulse faintly with residual energy. Each relic tells a story of hubris, ambition, and failure. Chief studies them carefully, understanding that the enemies he faces here are not just challenges to overcome, but reflection of the world's harsh rules. Every decision has weight. Every action leaves a mark. The Spartan begins to see his own role in this cycle. He's not just surviving. He is participating in the ongoing story of the lands between, leaving echoes of influence with every step. The environment itself becomes an ally and a teacher. Twisted trees provide cover against unseen foes. Cliffs reveal vantage points for planning, and flowing rivers guide him to hidden paths. Yet the same elements can betray him. Roots ensnare, fog conceals, and unstable terrain can spell disaster. Chief's training allows him to adapt, but the lessons here transcend mere battlefield tactics. The land teaches patience, strategy, and the importance of reading the subtle cues of those around him, whether human, creature, or spectral presence. Every movement matters, and the Spartan's awareness becomes a weapon in its own right. As he navigates deeper into treacherous regions, NPCs begin to acknowledge his presence in increasingly meaningful ways. Tarnished and warriors, who once eyed him with suspicion, now watch from a distance with muted respect. Subtle gestures, a lowered weapon, a nod, a moment of silence. signal recognition of his skill, discipline, and consistency. In a land where trust is fleeting and survival is harsh, even these small acknowledgments carry significance. Chief realizes that legacy is built not through domination alone, but through consistent demonstration of resilience, honor, and restraint. At the edge of a sprawling canyon, he encounters remnants of battles fought against demigods and monstrous entities. The air vibrates faintly with lingering magic, and the ground bears scars of immense power. Chief pauses, taken in the magnitude of these events. His presence in this world is already beginning to intersect with its deeper currents. The lands between does not merely test him physically, it evaluates his capacity to understand its history, respect its cycles, and respond with both strength and wisdom. This understanding, he senses, is the foundation of his legacy. By the time Chief reaches the canyon's rim, night begins to fall, casting long shadows across jagged stone and misty valleys. From this vantage point, he can see distant settlements, forests alive with motion, and ruins that hint at power far greater than anything he has yet confronted. The path ahead is uncertain, fraught with peril, yet charged with opportunity. Chief knows that every choice he makes now, whom he aids, whom he opposes, which dangers he confronts or avoids, will shape the echoes of his presence in the lands between long after he has passed through. He tightens his grip on his weapon, scanning the horizon. Every boss fought, every NPC engaged, every creature confronted has contributed not just to survival, but to influence. The Spartan begins to understand that in this world, legacy is measured not by victory alone, but by resonance. The lasting impact of action, the subtle shaping of events, and the unspoken respect earned from allies, enemies, and the land itself. As the first stars appear overhead, Chief takes the first step forward into the deeper reaches of the lands between, aware that his journey is only partially complete, and that the mark he leaves may endure far beyond his own understanding. As Master Chief descends into the deeper valleys, the land itself seems to shift in response to his presence. Shadows stretch unnaturally, twisted forms move at the edges of his vision, and the very air carries a subtle hum of anticipation, as though the world is aware of his every choice. He has learned through bosses, NPCs, and creatures alike that the lands between is a responsive, intelligent realm. His victories and failures ripple outward, shaping opportunities, closing doors, and influencing those who watch from hidden corners. Every interaction now carries greater weight. Every decision leaves a trace on a world that remembers far longer than any battlefield report could. A small encampment of Tarnished emerges from the fog, their weapons sheathed and their expressions cautious yet respectful. Chief approaches deliberately, assessing their intentions. They speak of a nearby ruin said to contain an artifact of immense power, guarded not just by a monster, but by the consequences of the past. The Spartan recognizes the test embedded in this request. It is not merely about survival or combat prowess, but judgment. Does he intervene? Does he claim the artifact for himself, or navigate the ethical landscape carefully to prevent needless suffering? Every choice here shapes both his immediate survival and the echoes of his presence in the world. As he ventures toward the ruin, he recalls the lessons embedded in every prior encounter. Bosses were not just threats, they were teachers, showing him the limits of force and the necessity of perception. NPCs were not simply allies or enemies. They were reflections of the land's morality, patience, and resilience. Creatures were not merely obstacles, they were embodiments of cycles that repeat endlessly. Chief understands now that in this realm, legacy is defined not by victories alone, but by the consequences of actions, the subtle shaping of events, and the marks left on both allies and adversaries alike. Within the ruin, he faces not a single enemy, but a convergence of past echoes, spectral warriors, guardians of the artifact, and environmental hazards that demand precision and foresight. Every strike, every movement, Every decision to engage or withdraw carries weight. Chief moves with a measured rhythm, combining Spartan reflexes with learned adaptability, countering the unpredictable patterns that the lands between instills in its guardians. The battle is grueling, testing both skill and patience. When the artifact is finally within his reach, the cost is clear. To claim it without regard risks destabilizing the surrounding area and endangering the survivors who depend on the fragile equilibrium he has maintained. Chief pauses, analyzing the situation. This is not a decision dictated by orders or protocol, but by judgment. He chooses restraint, securing the artifact in a way that minimizes harm and maintains balance. That choice echoes outward immediately. The tarnished he met earlier nod in silent acknowledgement from a distance. Spectral guardians dissipate without violence, and even the surrounding land seems to settle, as though approving the decision. It is a moment of clarity. In the lands between, the legacy of a Spartan is not measured solely by firepower or tactical success, but by discernment, respect for consequences, and the subtle shaping of events in a world that watches, remembers, and responds. As he emerges from the ruin, the valley stretches before him like an open canvas, dotted with settlements, forests, and distant mountains that promise further challenges. Chief recognizes that his journey is far from over. There are more NPCs to encounter, more bosses to confront, and more choices to make. And yet, in that vastness, he sees the imprint of his passage. Paths cleared, threats averted, allies subtly influenced, and the beginnings of a reputation that reaches beyond mere survival. This is the essence of legacy in the lands between. Not a record of victories, but the resonance of presence, the enduring consequences of thought, restraint, and action. The Spartan moves forward deliberately, each step a statement. His path is uncharted, but his understanding is profound. He knows that this world cannot be dominated by strength alone. It must be navigated with insight, patience, and the quiet authority of someone who has endured the impossible and chosen to leave a mark that transcends mere survival. The lands between is a crucible of consequence, and Chief has proven he can not only survive it, but influence it, shape it, and leave an echo that will persist long after he has moved on. As Master Chief continues through the rolling hills and fog-draped forests, he begins to feel the cumulative weight of the journey. Every choice, every encounter, every battle fought has left its imprint not just on him, but on the land itself. The NPCs he aided now move with cautious confidence, some guiding lost travelers, others defending ruins that might have fallen into chaos. The creatures and bosses he has faced no longer dominate the paths he travels. Their echoes remain, lessons in patience, resilience, and perception. Chief realizes that survival here is no longer enough. His legacy depends on the balance he maintains, the influence he exerts, and the restraint he exercises in a world that thrives on extremes. At the edge of a massive plateau, he pauses to survey the lands below. Sunlight cuts through the fog, illuminating rivers, forests, and settlements in a breathtaking tapestry of life and struggle. The scale is overwhelming, yet Chief sees the connections. The decisions he made in small villages ripple outward. The bosses he faced shaped fear and respect across regions. Every step he has taken has carved a path for those who follow. Tarnished, survivors, and even wandering warriors who now speak of the armored outsider in hushed tones, unsure whether to fear, admire, or revere him. This is the true mark of a Spartan in the lands between. Not dominance, but enduring influence, the subtle shaping of events that reverberates far beyond immediate victories. In a quiet glade, Chief encounters a small group of survivors tending to a sacred grove, their expressions a mix of relief and awe. Without words, he acknowledges them, his presence offering reassurance rather than authority. In this simple act, Chief understands a profound truth. A Spartan's legacy is not measured by trophies or victories alone, but by the reassurance of others, the stability brought to those navigating a chaotic world, and the unspoken impact of disciplined action and deliberate choice. The Lands Between has taught him that influence, respect, and moral clarity are as potent as any weapon in his arsenal. As dusk falls, casting golden light over jagged mountains and crumbling ruins, Chief pauses to reflect. He recalls the battles with bosses beyond comprehension, the delicate negotiations with NPCs, the creatures that tested his skill and patience. Each encounter has been more than a trial of combat or endurance. It has been a lesson in judgment, restraint, and perception. The very qualities that distinguish a true Spartan from a soldier simply following orders. In this alien world, he has adapted, learned, and evolved, shaping not just his survival, but the environment, the people, and the legends that inhabit it. Standing at the precipice of a cliff that overlooks a valley bathed in the last light of day, Master Chief turns, his gaze steady. The Lands Between stretches endlessly ahead, filled with unknown challenges, hidden dangers, and stories waiting to unfold. Yet in this moment, he knows the legacy he leaves behind will endure. A path forged through discipline, courage, and wisdom, one that inspires those who follow, commands respect from those who oppose, and echoes through the very fabric of the world itself. The Spartan may be a visitor in this land, but his presence is unmistakable, permanent, and unforgettable. And as night falls, stars glitter across the sky, reflecting faintly on rivers and mountains below. Master Chief begins his next steps, aware that the journey continues, yet confident that every choice, every act, and every battle has cemented a legacy that transcends survival. The Lands Between has been both teacher and crucible, and the Spartan has emerged not just as a warrior, but as a figure whose influence will linger long after his passage. Thank you for following this journey through the Lands Between with Master Chief. From impossible bosses to the nuanced choices of NPC interactions, we've explored how a Spartan's presence reshapes an entire world. If you enjoyed seeing this crossover come to life, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more CrossWorld adventures. Drop a comment below. Which moment do you think defines Master Chief's legacy in the Lands Between? We love hearing your thoughts. Until next time, keep imagining worlds colliding and heroes rising to the challenge.